Honorable Minister, distinguished dignitaries, distinguished audience, all, namaste. So, well, you have noticed that I'm French and I have a small accent, but you will get used to it. Actually, here I have come with two news, bad news and a good news. You know, in 1988, I've been lucky to spend my day in Paris with a very famous director who is called Steven Spielberg. I'm sure everybody will know in the audience. And he has done a big film like Jurassic Park and all that. So the bad news is that Spielberg, when he wanted to study at the university course in cinema and prepare for his bachelor, was debarred to go from that. And he was rejected because he was not qualified enough to go for that. So the good news is that today is around 55, 35 years later, the same university has called him to give him an honorary degree in cinematography, the one that they refused him at that time. So I think it says much of the thing about our education system. And you see, we are speaking about India because we are in India, but basically this example is in the US. I could speak about the French system, and I will have hundreds of similar cases, unfortunately. So basically, the problem is the total inadequation between the real world and the education system. I think everybody agree on that, and we know that we need a change in that. We have to change the system. We have to put a system which is adequate to the needs of not only of the real world, but of the human being. Because remember that basically we are looking at human beings who are contributing to a society, to a human world. So when we say we need a change, what are the main components of this change? You know, basically, when we speak about education, often we look at the big picture, we look at the numbers, and of course they are important, especially in India, when we are speaking about hundreds of millions. But we have to remember that basically education is basically one human being, one child who is growing around the years, and we should really remember this child and do everything which is possible for this child. Which means that, as far as I am concerned, I consider that education is, you know, what is happening in the classroom, the methodology, the relationship between the teacher and the child is very important. And it goes through from the pre-primary school to the high school. I think that's the most important factor because, you know, basically we are looking at the development of a human being. So now when we look at education which is centered on textbook, memorizing, you know, by heart, content which is totally obsolete, which has become, you know, today the content, you take any of these instruments, you have all the content you want in the world. I don't see any need to memorize anything. And for example, in 6th standard, to memorize the name of the organ of the frog, you know, so of the digestive system of the frog. Frankly speaking, I've never used that in my life. And I don't think many of you in your life have used this type of knowledge. But there are other knowledge which are much more important. They are the one which develop the skill, the one who will allow anyone to grow, to succeed in life, and to be, basically, to be happy in life. So which is why when we look at the necessary change in education, we look at the change in the methodology. We look at the change in the pedagogy, on what is happening inside the classroom, and what is really learned, not about the teaching. You know, I've spent a lot of time to try to teach my cat to speak French, and my cat never spoke French. It's a fact. But my daughter, I never taught her anything. And she learned Hindi, because we are in India. She learned Gujarati, because we are in Gujarat. She learned French, because I speak French with her. She learned English, because we are communicating in English. Which is why, you know, the shift between the learning and teaching. So we need an education which is experiential, where we are really doing things. We need an education which is useful, which produces people who can succeed in life, who can do things, who can create things, who can change the world for better. We need an education which is linked with the real world, not this bubble which is totally unlinked with anything. The school, the university which says forgetting that we are human beings living in a world and we have a mission to accomplish in that. So, when we say useful, I have a story of these two boys who were in the forest. And among these two boys, you had one who was the topper, in school. Very good in math, very good in science, very good in everything. The type of thing you say, wow, he's really the ideal student, who knows everything. Very good. And his friend was more, let's say, laid on. And they run in the forest, and suddenly they are in front of a bear, big grizzly bear. And this smart guy, I said immediately, this bear is there, it will take for him exactly 12 seconds to reach to us. And at the same time, the other boy is just busy changing his shoes, putting, sport shoes. And this guy said, but are you crazy? You cannot run faster than the bear. He said, I don't need to run faster than the bear, I just need to run faster than you. Of course, not very compassionate as an attitude, but basically, they are, practical intelligence and school intelligence, which are not necessarily the same. So when we say that system has to change, then you have to find solution. And I just, solution there. The immensity of the problem will need immensity of solution. But I can just give my experience and what I have tried to do into that. We have created a school it was in Ahmedabad in 1998, based on the very idea that we need to have active learning and a joyful learning to allow the children to grow and to be successful in their life. And this was based on the idea that every child has not only the right, but the society has a duty to provide not only education, but good education to each and every child. And for that means, the people who have the means to do and the people who don't have. That means, which is why we have got into a very inclusive education, and for that we did a PPP model with the municipal corporation. And we introduced the idea of having 20 to 25% children, underprivileged children, from the slums of Ahmedabad, beside the elite of the city. At that time, it was sounding very crazy as an idea, and we have got a lot of resistance. I can tell you, it was extremely difficult. And the idea being that we need diversity in the classroom. If we are in an active learning setup, then we will need children who are thinking differently from each other. Because if everybody thinks in the same way, they will not progress. If you speak to yourself, you are thinking like yourself, you will never contradict yourself, and you will stagnate. In order to progress, we need to have contradiction, debate, different ideas, which is why we need the diversity. And the diversity in the classroom is the biggest possible asset in education. That's what I want to carry here. Now, at that time, it was a crazy idea. It was 1998. Today, in 2012, it has become a national reality because right to education has been voted by both chambers of parliament in India. And it is progressing slowly because there are a lot of resistance in that, but the idea is going on. And I think that was a very important step ahead. So, just a last word maybe. Then education, we have to look at education at two levels. holistic education at the level of the child, and in that sense, India has to play a very important role, because India is a country which has given to the world a person like Gandhi. By the way, our school is called Mahatma Gandhi International School. Gandhi was looked in his Nayatalim at the development of the entire human being and not a separate part. Some of our distinguished speakers have underlined the need to give the dignity of labor in education, to look at any type of learning as noble and as acceptable by the society. That was, of course, the ideal of Gandhi. And to give education for all. Sarvodaya means upliftment of all. And I think that's something extremely important to look at the holistic aspect of education. The other part is the global aspect. Incidentally, in French, we have the same word for holistic and global. Actually, we say global, apprentissage global. The global part is that, today the world is becoming smaller and smaller, more and more communication. At the same time, people are communicating less and less together because they are busy on their phone and they are busy on other means, and they forget to communicate directly. So what is important is really to create a lot of network, collaboration, work, and in my work in the Commission of Employment and Training, I have to travel a lot in the world, and we have to look at this also possibility of exchange between different countries, different communities, different parts, accepting the different system of education, giving value to them, and maybe also exchanging, sharing, in order to take the best of what is there and enriching each other. Instead of looking at the competitive world where we want to be the best, or I think the sharing, collaboration, putting networks into place is the key to the holistic individual development. Where we can reach the root, the ideal of what is really deeply ingrained in the Indian culture. By the way, I have presented a thesis on Gandhi in the Sorbonne University in Paris, and really what I would say is important in this realization that the mind and the body are both, and we have to bring back both of them in the education system, in the school system. Thank you so much.